If divorce transfer cases, cherry bomb mufflers, sassy old bias plies, and mud flaps aren't your thing, you're watching the wrong channel. Well, howdy folks, welcome back to another beautiful Alaskan day. We're down here in the shop and well, one thing I've been thinking about doing this summer is making a little more space. Got some organization going on over there, shelf made up, got some fancy old junk that I wanted on the wall, kind of, decorating the place. And one more thing I wanted to do, I need to make space to get one of my Jeeps in. And I wanted to make space to get the old International Travelette, the one that I'm putting the 6.9 IDI into. I want to put that Crewcab in here, and I want to get some work on it. So what do you got to do when you want to put more stuff in the shop? Well, you got to cut some ties with stuff, and you got to fix stuff. Gonna cut ties with this Scout. This thing's never been on the channel at all. It's a 1976 Scout 2 that I got a long time ago, and I just never got too far with it. Well, I got far enough to get it all apart, but I didn't get any further than that. And I got this thing before I had my Scout 80. Once I got my Scout 80, it was kind of over for this thing. I just didn't have the heart to drag it out and put it outside. But fortunately, I think I found somebody that wants this thing, and they're going to try and do something with it, which is great. I hate throwing things out, scrapping, whatever. I hate all that nonsense. So the fact that this thing might be able to hit the road yet again would be amazing. I mean, I've got all the stuff for it, literally everything, carpet, the rubber floor mat in the back, the side panels for the top, the seats, bucket seats, all the everything for that Scout. So I'll be glad to see that one go to somebody else. But the other thing we got here is this right here. Now, this is not my truck. It actually belongs to my old man. And I want to say around about 2018, about 2017, we'll start a little ahead. He revived this thing again after it had been sitting for a little while. Old 360 FE. She's a 1975 F-250 Crewcab F-26 truck, so it's a Highboy. And what's kind of wild is that this thing actually was originally an automatic truck. So it was a 360 automatic, and of course, my old man, he had to do away with that automatic nonsense. So she's got a 4-speed in there now. I'm almost certain it's an MP 435, although it could be a T18. I really don't know. I can find out in a minute. But what we got to do here is finish this thing up. I got permission to finish putting it back together and get her running again and get her out of the shop, which is great. Obviously, this is a Crewcab's length of space, and I can put my Travelette right here. So what we got to do, and what he found out, and the one thing he wanted to put in this before he finally slapped it all back together, is he wanted to put a new oil pump in it. So I picked up the oil pump. It's right there. And yeah, what we got to do is drain the oil and drop the oil pan. I know for a fact, because I learned the fun way, that you can indeed drop an oil pan on a Highboy with the engine in the truck. And I think that's exactly what we're gonna do, is jack this thing up, put the front on jack stands so the axle sags down a little bit, we get a little more room, and we'll just get the oil pan out of there. But first things first, of course, let's get a look at this thing. It is such an amazing truck. It looks great when it's out and about. He drove it around a little bit. The issue it had is it was smoking like a chimney. Just nice, wonderful blue smoke coming out of the back of this thing. And he did pull the engine all apart, and well, as you can tell, my dad's kind of like me, and he doesn't really beautify, he just fixes. So he went through this thing and fixed the issue. It had a broken piston ring, and basically that's all he had to replace is the piston rings, and that's all he had to do. He plastic gauged all the bearings. They all looked good. Nothing was chewed up or torn up or anything. So that's all she's got is new piston rings in there, and then it's going to have a new oil pump. He was kind of concerned about that. And once we get that oil pump out, I'll take it apart and have a look at how gnarly it is. And if it's still all right, I'll keep it around for other purposes. But yeah, like I said, 1975 F-250 Crewcab. These things are kind of rare, and I know that the Crewcabs, they've blown up down in the lower 48, but they're still kind of common up here in Alaska, because a ton of these things were bought in the 70s for the pipeline. The Alaska pipeline was built in the 70s, and of course they needed troop transport for all the workers. She's got the big old Dana 44 HD, so she's got the big dirty old Spicer hubs. I absolutely love those hubs. coming around here. She's had her fair share of abuse, as you can tell. Haven't they all had that? Got Bondo about an inch thick on the roof of this thing, but that's all right. Little bit of rust there in the floor. I don't have my flashlight on here, so you guys will just have to deal with the darkness. You can see from how dirty that windshield is, this thing has been sitting in here for a little while. And when I was thinking about it, I couldn't believe it really has been like 6 years this truck's been sitting in here, which is just absolutely insane. Now, when my old man put the 4-speed in, he took out the old blue dash because this truck had a hole in the windshield over there, and it actually rusted out the dash there. And of course, did he get a new windshield? No. Did he pull a windshield out of a parts truck that's totally spiderwebbed? Yeah. She's fixed up nice, fine, and dandy now. This thing has the shortest little shifter you ever seen in your life, and it totally, like, you'll bash your knuckles into the dash, which is hilarious. If there was a radio here, you'd be in a whole heap of trouble with that. Being a Dentside Highboy, she's got an NP205, which is pretty cool. Ton of people love the NP205. They think it's the greatest thing ever. I don't think it's that much superior to a Dana 24 myself, but, you know, one man's opinion. Doesn't really mean a lot to anybody else. Original back seat in just magnificent shape back there. This thing really is in great shape. Of course, don't swap out the steering column. Just leave the automatic shifter in there. Whatever works, right? Have a look at the back seat area. This thing is surprisingly solid for what it is. It's really only got the rust along there and the same thing going on the passenger side. The Crewcab's had this cover panel on the driver's or the front seat, which is super neat. I mean, this is just a really classy old rig in all the ways. We used this thing for a couple years getting firewood even down here behind the shop and stuff. Like, these old girls get worked around these parts. Somebody threw in a Peterbilt light on this side and you just bend that over and make a mess out of it. That wasn't us, of course, because that's kind of gnarly, and of course we have parts. You have to mention the sassy old Crooked Kenworth mud flaps. Those things are gorgeous. Just in every way, this is a classy old minty truck. I can't wait to see it back out, and maybe we'll get a buddy up here to give this thing a good old spit shine. Bring that blue paint back to its original luster. Crewcab door panels. The doors are in great shape, really. These things always rust out, you know. Oh yeah, never mind that Crewcab. This side got the oil protection. Must have spilled something back there, and it's all oil slicked up now, but oh well. It is what it is. Here's the starter for it. Of course, being what it is, having an FE in there, I've got a ton of parts. Having this, you know, everything I've got to do on this thing's going to be super easy, given that I'm already set up to work on these things. So, and I think it'll be a fun little project to get this thing out of the shop. Here's the worst of it. You can't see it, but you can see the holes. One up there and then kind of down in here. Really not that bad for what it is, like I said. It was an old Warren Truck and Tractor truck that was based here out of Fairbanks there, which is pretty cool. So yeah, anyhow, that's going to be the adventure today. Like I said, I think we're going to drop the oil pan in the truck instead of pulling the engine back out, because I know he got the bell housing bolts all in and the engine mounts in, and I don't really want this thing dangling from an engine hoist while I'm pulling the oil pan. I don't want to put it on an engine stand while I'm pulling the oil pan, so I think I'm just gonna pull the oil pan right where she sits. And if you look over here in this mountain of junk, right there's the front clip for the old Crewcab. It's got, I want to say it's got green fenders, a different grill, perfect grill inserts. These plastic Dentside grill inserts are always broken, and somehow he managed to find perfect ones. And it has an F600 hood, so this thing has the big Ford on the hood, and the little Ford in the grill. You'll see it when I get this thing out, but obviously that can sit there until that's ready to do things. So yeah, what I'm going to do, like I said, get this thing up on jack stands. I'm going to roll under there, get myself, pretty sure it's a 1/2 inch, and just start zipping oil pan bolts off, or, well, probably drain the oil first. You know, one of those, well, I'll figure it out as I go, and I'll keep you guys updated. Alrighty, I got the old crew cab here wheelied right in front, so I can get at it pretty easy with my tools. And I just wheelied under here to drop the oil out of this thing, and I noticed something a little funny. It's not a Dana 44 HD. This is a Dana 60 closed knuckle. I did not know that, and that is super cool that this thing has a Dana 60 in it. Shows how much I've actually looked at the darn thing, as long as it's been sitting in here. But yeah, we just got the oil dropped out of it. I think I'm going to get it up on jack stands in the front, and then we'll start popping the oil pan off of there and I'll get the oil pump taken care of first, and then we'll kind of go from there, assembling everything. As you can tell, all that basically got done is the engine got put in, bolted to the bell housing, and the engine mounts were on. So we've still got, you know, everything, alternator, fuel pump, obviously the rad hoses, belts, exhaust, you know, everything else. Carburetor's not on it, and yeah, so I got to track everything down and get everything bolted on here. It's basically, you know, a delayed engine install from here once the oil pump's in. Alrighty, well, here we are. Pardon my fuzzy camera lens. I can't seem to get that thing clean. I need a new cover for that thing, so awesome. Things always breaking, but oil pan's off, oil pump's out. We got the oil pump over here. I cleaned up the pickup tube, and I also dropped the back off the oil pump here so I could have a look at it. And it's not perfect, but I don't know how well you guys can see. There's some minor scarring on there. Nothing too earth-shattering, really, but like I said, I'm not 100% sure on why he wanted it replaced, but he didn't want to run it, so whatever works. Oil pumps are cheap insurance for old engines like this. Just go ahead and throw a new one in. So got this guy here. I just got to clean up gasket surfaces on the engine. I got the oil pan draining into a drain pan there, and I'll clean up the gasket surface on that, get everything prepped. Oil pump bolted to the oil pickup tube, bolted into the engine, and so I didn't take the distributor out. And on these old Fords, you got to know that they have a this little drive shaft that goes into the bottom of the distributor and the top of the oil pump, and that's what drives the oil pump on these things. So you got to make sure that's in there, and you got to make sure that it's in there good and right. And sometimes they'll actually Twizzler, like if you have a really thick oil and it's super cold out, you can actually Twizzler these darn things and twist them all up and snap them off. And of course, those engines don't have oil pressure sensors to shut them off if you don't have oil pressure. So one of those things you kind of got to watch out for on an old Ford, stuff like that. But yeah, I'm going to get the oil pump and everything all set up and thrown in there. Alrighty, we're making headway on the old girl here. I got the engines bolted in, I got the starter in, I got the last of the bell housing bolts. There were 2 bell housing bolts left. I got some oil thrown in it, the alternator's mounted, the belts are on. I got the clutch all set up. For those of you that don't know, on these old Highboys, the other clutch pivot brackets mounted to the engine. So when you take the engine out of one of these things that has a 4-speed, you have to take the clutch, the actual Z-bar, or the pivot, whatever you want to call it. This doodad here needs to come out, or you can leave it dangling there, but either it's complicated anyhow. And then there's the lower bar down there that you might be able to see if you see through my camera's all smudgy still, but that lower bar that spring's mounted on never got put on this truck, and for some reason, I don't know why, but I found a spring and grabbed that lower bar off another 4-speed parts truck that was sitting up here. So the clutch, I think that arm that pushes on the fork itself, I believe that would pop off every now and then, and you know, give all kinds of grief, because the spring here holds tension so that the fork stays put, if you can see where I'm pointing. And then, yeah, this bar right here, that guy would pop off every now and then you'd lose your clutch. So good thing we got the spring in there now, so she's all nice and tight, and I got the clutch adjusted just where it's supposed to be, I believe. And yeah, so making headway there. out back here, what I was just up to is I stuck a hose on the bottom of the fuel outlet and siphoned some fuel out into a gas can. I don't know how much fuel is in this, but I pulled 5 gallons out. It's 6-year-old fuel, 6 or 7-year-old fuel that's in this thing. So I figured I'll drain some of it out and then dilute it with 5 gallons of new gas, and it should be good to go. These old FEs, let me tell you, they'll run on anything. You just gotta love them. But while I was down here, oh, and of course I had to replace that rubber hose because every chunk of rubber on these things is always gone. But thought I'd just lay under here and let you guys marvel at how beautiful this old girl is. Look at that. Steps fine, like we saw. It really is just that floor rod up there. This thing is beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. NP205, of course. The NP205s had these brace bars that went back on these Highboys. Just a beautiful... This is a beautiful truck. It's in great shape. I can't wait to see it running around again. The bed's not in the greatest of shape, but, you know, good enough for who it's for and stuff like that. But, oh, the cherry bomb, of course, you know. You can't live life without the cherry bomb. Just a beautiful old truck, like I said. I'm so excited to get this thing out of here so I can have the space back and so that it can be on the road again. And, of course, you guys are seeing it kind of looks like crap now. It's going to look great when it's out there and the front clips out from under all that junk and on this thing. So, yeah. Anyways, I'm going to get back to it. Just thought I'd show off how nice this thing is. But up next, I still got heater hoses need to go on. You know, the thing there. The exhaust needs to go on there. I'm waiting to prime the engine. I've got oil back in this thing, so there's oil in it. But I've got a primer for these things, and I'm gonna prime the oil system, put a oil filter or an oil pressure gauge in here so I can see it. But I think I'll get the carburetor and the fuel system all put together first, and then yeah, I'm just weeding through things. I'm trying to get everything that's easier to work on the engine while the front clip is still off. And then, of course, once the front clip's on there, then you kind of run out of space. These things are still super easy to work on, but it's a little bit harder once the front clip is on. So anyhow, enough of my rambling. I'm going to get back to it. I'll keep you guys updated as we go. And, of course, the first start, you guys are going to hear it. So talk to you guys later. Well, I think the big work's out of the way for now. So we've got all the electrical that I can hook up without the front clip, obviously. Oil pressure gauge, we've got the coil hooked up, temperature sensor hooked up. All the vacuum lines are routed, all 3 of them. Awesome. I love simple things like that. All new fuel line, new fuel filter, all the way up to the crusty old Holly carb. Ran when parked, so hopefully that Holly still works. Brake boosters hooked up. Like I said, all new fuel line. Exhaust, I finally got the exhaust all set up and squared away. I don't think we have much else that I'm able to do without the front clip on here. So yeah, what I'm going to have to do is push this pickup all the way back. I'm going to open that door and get this thing as far back as I can with it still being on the concrete slab so that I can fundangle the front clip out of that corner there. As you can tell by the fact that you can't see the front clip right now, it is buried. So it's going to take me a little while, but I'll get it out of there and I'll get it picked up with the old cherry picker. And we'll get her positioned right on the old Dentside crew cab here. There she is. Like I said, perfect grill inserts and the Ford. And as a side note, this has got to be the single most dusty building on the planet Earth. It's only been like 6 years. I can't believe it's actually been 6 years because that seems like a super long time. But also, it's only been 6 years, and look at this thing. That's black paint there. Yeah. It'll be nice to get that thing up and washed and nice and shiny again. Well, shiny. Like I'm actually going to wax it or something. Alrighty, front clip's airborne. Kind of a precarious manner of lifting it, but it works for now. I totally forgot he kept the old crew cab badge, stuck it on. These green fenders came off another parts truck that we'd had a while back, and obviously these got swapped on because the old blue ones were in worse shape. You'll see once this thing's outside and I get her cleaned up, but like there's a ton of body damage up top and all around this thing, but it's still a sweetheart of a truck. But anyways, I'm going to get this front clip up in the air more and obviously get her skedaddled right into place here. First things first, make sure junk like my flashlight aren't going to be in the way, because it seems like something that I would go ahead and do. But yeah, just keep on keeping on here. We'll have the front clip on her in no time, and this thing will be looking like a truck again. Alrighty, well, a little more struggling and a little bit later, and we're a little bit farther along here. So I went ahead and threw a battery in. I already did the smoke test, and no smoke, but I haven't done anything else yet. Just making sure that, you know, nothing starts smoking right away. So good sign right there, nothing's smoking yet. These old Dentsides are pretty nice because there's just like 4 wire connections under here. Those guys on each side do your headlights and your running lights and whatnot, basically. And then it's just the solenoid. I'm pretty sure that's the horn relay back there. And then the voltage regulator up here. So all I had to throw on. I had to track down every single little bolt for this front clip. You don't realize how many bolts there are on the front clip of one of these until you're trying to find every single one and you have no idea where it is. But we're finally ready to check for signs of life in this old girl. And big question is whether or not I got the coil power the right way around, because I could have gotten the coil on the temperature sensor and the temperature sensor on the coil, which wouldn't be too great, but I guess we'll see. Obviously, the one thing that isn't hooked up yet is cooling. Just the rad hoses are hanging out there. We should make sure those aren't in a partying range for the fan, and in case this thing spins over. And then once we make sure that this thing cranks over and, I don't know, doesn't sound like it's going to blow up immediately, then we'll hook up the cooling system. I think the cooling system is the last thing that this thing needs. Otherwise, I got to put 5 gallons of gas in it. Yeah, I'm that close. But we'll check for signs of life first. Oh, we got running light. We got headlights. That light doesn't count. Oh yeah. Look at that. Oh. Ah, you don't need that one anyways. Or this one, apparently. Nope, nothing. We got both tail lights. Even the Peterbilt tail light even works. Hell yeah, and we got that marker light. Well, that's better than nothing. Oh, let's see if we have turn signals. We got oil and alt lights. The slowest turn signals ever made. Apparently we just don't have that one. Does she crank over? We have life. All right. I'm not gonna lie, that is kind of shocking, just because of how long this thing sat and how little I honestly know about all the parts for this thing. But we have lights and we have some turn signal action and we have an engine that spins over, and that's the important part. So now what I need to do next, obviously, is the rad hoses. Before I goof around a lot more, I need to verify that I have the right wire on the coil. Obviously, that rag needs to come out of the carburetor. That's kind of a no-brainer. And I already checked the master cylinder there, and the rear pod is empty, so I'm pretty sure that's the front brakes. So I should put some brake fluid in that and hope it like gravity bleeds overnight. Otherwise, we should be in business. All right. I'm going to tidy this thing up a little more, and then we're that close to seeing if she's going to fire off and rally around the yard here. Well, rally. We'll go easy on it since it's not really mine. Alrighty, well, I totally lied to you guys. I got the rad hoses put on, but it started to rain. Believe it or not, it's really late at night right now, and well, I kind of like some sleep. So there is no coolant in this thing, but I'm just going to put some gas down the carb, and we'll see if it tries to fire off, and then with that, we'll call it a night. So Got the old squirt bottle here. We'll give her a few. What's nice about that is it goes right down the old float bowl. Give her quite a little bit down in there. And I guess hop in and see if she fires off. I don't know where the timing was at. It's wherever my dad had it left. So we'll see. I don't think the timing's right because it just shoot out of the carburetor there. Well, shot out of the carb, so we're gonna have to monkey with the timing, see if it's actually on cylinder number 1, do all the nonsense. So that's great. I didn't want to have to do that, but well, you got to do what you got to do. But since it shot out of the carburetor, that means I got the wires in the right spot, and power's actually going to the coil, and power's not going to the temperature sensor. So that's rad. I might monkey with the timing a little bit here and see where it wants to be. Alrighty, upon further investigation, the timing was just super retarded. I've got the timing mark set right a little advanced from 10 degrees before top dead center, and where I had it there, it was pointed over here at the next cylinder. You guys can't see anything. Let me fix the lighting situation. There, how's that? Can you see all right? Good. So right here is cylinder number 1, and where it was pointed was right here at the next cylinder down. So it was basically trying to fire a cylinder off. That's why it shot a bunch of fuel out the carburetor. So I've got her bumped ahead right around on cylinder 1 there. We'll clamp the cap down. If I can manage without both hands. There we go. Get this wrench out of the way. A little more gas down there, and we'll try her again. Fingers crossed. She does the thing now. You know what I never understood? Dentsides have the ignition over here, and bump sides have the ignition over here. I prefer it over there. Bump sides are nicer. Dentsides are cool still, though. Ugh. I also did notice this thing doesn't have a accelerator pump at all. There's nothing happening there. It's not leaking out of the accelerator pump, but the accelerator pump is doing absolutely nothing. So that's another fun adventure. I was kind of hoping to you know, fix the bare minimum of things, and it's kind of turning into, I've replaced like all the rubber fuel lines. I was highly considering doing the heater hoses, but I didn't, and yeah, here we are. But it tried to start. I might bump the timing ahead a little more and see if it's going to try again. Alrighty, I believe this is take 3. I've got the timing as advanced as it'll sit there without having to reposition the distributor, so you know, hopefully it starts. And I already put gas down the carby there, so let's see what she says. Hell yeah. All right. Ugh. Oh, I guess I won't kill my battery yet. We'll have to monkey with it in the morning. I think I've got the timing almost there. I might bump the plug wires all down one so the distributor can get back to center, because of course these Fords with the oil pump drive shaft, every time you pull the distributor out, it's a gamble whether or not you're going to be able to get it back in on top of that oil pump drive shaft. So I'll have to deal with that. I'm just going to deal with that in the morning. It's getting late, and tell you what, my feet are tired from standing on this concrete all day. But we have signs of life. This thing did run. And I shouldn't monkey with it a lot more before. I should put coolant in it first. Now, I said he went through this engine, but it was not rebuilt. It's the old cam, it's the old lifters, everything like that. So there shouldn't be any break-in period needed for this thing. That's why I'm kind of just trying to see if it'll start now instead of, you know, trying to make sure everything is 100% correct before I start it. There's things like that you ought to know before you go and do dumb stuff like this. But yeah, so this thing's got obviously the old plug wires, the old distributor, the old points, the old plugs. All of that is old. None of that has been replaced. So yeah, this thing is the bare minimum. I love it to death. This thing is awesome. And yeah, hopefully in the morning we'll have a Dentside Crewcab running and driving around the yard again. It'll be great to see this thing back out. I guess once I get it out, I can put the bumper on it. I do have the bumper. It's in the back. So anyhow, I guess I'll see you guys in the morning. Alrighty-o, we're back for day 3 of this adventure. Got a fresh cup of coffee, good to go. And I'm going to have to do something that I'd been trying to avoid, which is doing things the right way. I'm going to pop the old Holley carb back off this thing. This truck's got an old Holley 2300, very similar carb to what they put on all the old corn binders, so let me tell you, I'm pretty familiar with them. And I'm going to be forced to do something I have been avoiding on this project, which is I'm just going to put a new accelerator pump in it. I know there's folks out there that probably just do things the right way the first time and get things right, but I'm not that way. I'd rather save a few bucks and do it wrong. So I was mulling it over last night. Turns out I actually do have a brand new Holley accelerator pump for that carburetor in my toolbox over there. I typically keep one on hand for the old corn binders, and yeah, we'll pop that Holley off, make sure the float bowl and everything in there is clean, and then throw a new accelerator pump on it. But just had to take a second and marvel at how good this old pickup looks. Like I keep saying, it's going to be so great to see it back out on the road. Oh, did I even mention the welded on bolt for the hood release? Some classy stuff here. So yeah, we're gonna pop that Holley off, clean it up, and then we should be back in business. As you guys heard last night, this thing was trying to pop off, so I mean, she's gonna run. And I was thinking about it, and the way it was trying to pop off, I think the timing's pretty decent right where it is. And so I'll leave it right there. We'll get the carburetor fixed so we actually have an accelerator pump and can actually, you know, get fuel into the engine. Because, you know, I've been told that helps sometimes, you know, when they have fuel in them. So anyways, that's the plan for today. Yeah, I'm going to pop that Holley off. It's just 4 bolts, like 3 vacuum lines, a fuel line, and the throttle linkage. So nothing much. Alrighty. Less than 10 minutes later, and here we are. Almost like I could have done this before, but away she goes. A little bit of gunk in there, so we're going to give her a good clean out. Nothing too bad, honestly, but while I'm in here, obviously, won't hurt. And then, of course, that accelerator pump, that guy right there, we'll go ahead and get that replaced. And we should be back in business. Alrighty, we should be back to square one here, with the exception of there's actually coolant in there now, so I can actually run this thing if it'll fire off here. I should double check the oil level, verify. Just junk everywhere around these parts. Good gravy. Yep, still good. And otherwise, just put some of the good stuff down the carby here. Theoretically, if we slide my step stool up here and have a look down in the carb someday here. Stupid choke stuck in the gosh darn way. Don't you just love when nothing goes according to plan? I do have an eBay auto light over on the shelf that I might just grab. There we go. Oh, no, we got squirter action, which means I totally just pumped a bunch of gas down there, which means we should be good to go. Leave that off and get that guy on there. You know, if everything goes according to plan, it should just light right off. It's got all the necessities now. Something like that, yeah. Hell yeah! This little girl hasn't run in 6 years now. God damn, that's a sweet sounding FE, ain't it? That carb is going to need a little tuning to get her dialed in, but I'll let her warm up for a minute. I think it picked up fuel since it's still running, which is even better. Hell yeah! Alright, let's kick up the idle a few. We'll kick up the idle a little bit, see if we can't get it to stay running, and then fiddle with the carburetor. I believe I mentioned this thing had a broken piston ring. I want to say on the number 8. The number 8's over there. It had a broken piston ring, and that's why it got taken apart, is because it was smoking like you wouldn't believe. She was smoking 3 packs a day when it got taken apart. Just bump that up some and see if it'll stay running. All the lights went off on the dash, which is surprising because the oil pressure sending unit was broken, and I wandered around for a minute trying to find one on a parts truck, and we didn't have any other oil pressure sending units, so I just went for broke and left that one on there. This thing's a base model, so it's just got the warning lights anyways. Warning lights and a radio delete. The starter sounds like the Bendix isn't kicking back in, which isn't great, but it's running. So now I'm going to fiddle with the timing here. The timing, the you know, carburetor, fuel air, all that. I'm just going to fiddle with stuff until I get it to where I like it. Probably scrounge up my vacuum gauge, of course, and set her to where she has the highest vacuum. And probably open the door behind me here so that I don't gas myself in this building. Although with how much ventilation this building has, I don't think I'm going to gas myself. Oh boy, who's ready for a fun little story here? So, had the old 360 here running, and I got it all tuned up, went started again, got the nice whir sound from the starter. That means she's not kicking the Bendix into the flywheel, which is, you know, a lot of fun. So, that was the first starter, and then I said, well, heck with it. Found this one under the bench, took it apart, cleaned it all up. I named it. You probably can't see it. That there's Mississippi Dan. Don't ask me why, I just started naming starters, random things. It's usually a city and then a name. So Mississippi Dan here did the same exact thing. This thing whirs over, doesn't kick the Bendix in. So I scrounged around upstairs here in the shop and came up with this starter. Now this starter actually has a story. This starter was in my Highboy for a little while. And right after I did the front axle on my Highboy, then I went to started it, fired up just fine, but it was making an awful grinding. What happened is this starter crapped out the Bendix, and so it had just the Bendix gear stuck in the flywheel, and just the Bendix was spinning free. But so it wasn't spinning the starter, it was just spinning the Bendix, which is, you know, not good, but could have been worse. But anyways, when that happened, I just took this out, got a replacement from Napa with a lifetime warranty, and chucked this one off to the wayside. And just now, I pulled a Bendix off a part starter, threw it on this starter, and tested this one on the bench. The Bendix kicks out on the bench, so it should, in theory, be good to go. Obviously, I got to tighten it up yet and put the battery cable on it, and we should be in business again. And yeah, that's Texarkana Bill. Hopefully, Bill lets us actually hear this FE run again. Alrighty, it's all eyes on Texarkana Bill now. Thank goodness. Still waiting for this thing to get all the air out of the cooling system, and then I'm going to tinker with the timing and the tuning a little bit more, and then we'll finally maybe be able to, well, I should also make sure the brakes are still good. Well, it's not going to idle. No, it kind of feels like there might be, maybe, there might be something there. I don't know. I'll see about it. What an absolute struggle this has been. Well, that's a pretty healthy sounding FE. I don't think we have any breakage at all. Oh, we got some brakes. I'm gonna jockey this thing around. You might be able to see the service trucks right there, so I gotta like whoop, 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 whoop. I'll get the camera out there and you guys can watch it. What an all-American success story we have here. The old 75 Crewcab, finally out of the shop. It's been in there for 6 years by my estimation, maybe almost 7 years, but she's finally out, she's finally running. Let's go get this thing washed up because I can't see squat out that windshield. And I ain't kidding you when I say I can't see anything out this windshield. Also, this has got to be the shortest little shifter that you could ever get on an MP435. It is adorable. Let's see if this little girl fires right up. The starter will still not kick the Bendix out all the time, but sometimes it works, so we'll see what she does. Oh. Oh, yeah. What a win. Let's back up a bit. I don't know if I can make the corner one-handed. God. What a win. None of it's on camera, but I had an absolute struggle leading up to this with timing and setting the point dwell. The points weren't open enough all the time, so it was running weird. So I reset the point gap, and then I had it too wide, and then it was running on like 4 cylinders. It was an absolute disaster. So this feels great. Yeah, believe it or not, that doesn't work. Great. Well, we got the bumper on her. Look at that sweetheart of a sassy old rig. Does it get any better than an F-26 truck? Highboys are just like the most perfect thing ever. And this truck is awesome. Super glad that I was able to get this thing fixed up. I'm going to leave the video kind of right here, give you guys a little more information, but this thing definitely needs the brakes bled and a little bit more work before she's going to be, you know, ripping down the road or whatnot. That's why I only really took her around the yard. But super happy I am to see this old girl out of the shop, out of the way. We got one of these. That's actually a Sawyer Beetle I learned recently. The old Dentside Crewcab's out of the shop. She's ready to rip around again. Just such a cool truck. I'm so happy to see this thing out and back in action. I got to clean all this junk out of here. Some of this is mine, some of this isn't. And get this thing ready. It's the new Mine Crummy, I reckon. What a sweetheart. Does it get any better than that? Well, there we are, folks. One Dentside Crewcab rescued again. Got her running again. She's back in action, ready to rip. And, well, maybe you guys will see more on this thing in the future. Personally, I'm kind of hoping I don't have to do a whole lot of more work on this thing, because getting that 360 running again was more of a pain than I thought it was going to be, I'll tell you what. But, yeah, anyhow, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the old Crewcab here, and until next time.